What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me. Where today we're going to talk more about Chris Ballard and that whole conversation sparking up after the Texans decided to trade for Stefon Diggs for basically pennies on the dollar, right? I believe it was Stefon Diggs and a couple of picks go to Houston, and all Houston gives up is a second round pick in 2025. That's not even in the upcoming draft. That's next year. They're giving up a second round pick for Stefon Diggs coming in now. Stefon Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins is the options for CJ Stroud to throw the ball to. CJ Stroud coming off one of the best, if not the best, rookie quarterback season of all time. Of course, Andrew Luck is up there. Justin Herbert's up there in that conversation. But they look very good in everything they've done this offseason, right? Ari Miroff put up a tweet of AFC South notable additions by team. Texans have Stefon Diggs, Daniil Hunter, Joe Mixon, Nico Autry, Aziz Al-Shaair, Jeff Okudah, and CJ Henderson have been a little underwhelming in their careers, but getting another chance in Houston, and obviously Tommy Townsend, the punter. Then you look at the Titans, Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed, Tony Pollard, Chidobe Awuzie, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Sebastian Joseph Day. So teams in the division are making moves, right? Jaguars, went out and got Gabriel Davis, Mitch Morris, Eric Armstead, Darnell Savage, Ronald Darby, Devin Duvernay, and of course traded for Mac Jones. And then the Colts, our only additions outside of the building this year, Joe Flacco and Raekwon Davis. So the Colts just haven't been active. So the conversation has sparked back up, right? Ballard. Everybody talking about fire Ballard, fire Ballard, fire Ballard. And I get that. I get that. And I'm getting to a point where I'm might end up agreeing with a lot of people that have been saying that. I've been defending Ballard for a long time, but we're at a point now where everybody in the division making moves to get better. What are the Colts going to do, right? And I saw somebody that said on Twitter that, Ballard better hope that Anthony Richardson is Superman because we're going into it with basically the exact same team we had last year. So he's going to have to be Superman and have to prove that he can be that guy and go and win us the division, be able to carry the team like that. So a lot of pressure on Ballard. Just signed an extension recently, so it'll be interesting to see how does Jim Irsay go about this situation. He's always been partial to Ballard. He's been patient with Ballard, understanding the situation that Ballard was put in when Andrew Luck retired, and he's given him time to figure it out. Now we're at a point where we came into this offseason with a bunch of money to spend, and granted, there was a lot of guys, premier players for the Colts that needed to be paid. Jonathan Taylor just got paid during the season. Michael Pittman Jr. is taking a big punch. So it'll be interesting to see how Irsay deals with this in the future, right? If the Colts come out and end up fourth in the division, if we end up third or fourth in the division this year, we don't win the division, don't make it to the playoffs, how will Jim Irsay react to Chris Ballard, right? Will Chris Ballard be on the hot seat? I know for fans, obviously, Chris Ballard has been on the hot seat for a little while, and there's good reason to be, right? I saw another tweet talking about how, you can understand the situation and give pass to Chris Ballard all you want, but at the end of the day, it's been 8 years. At some point, the Colts have to start winning again. Okay, just because he's better than Ryan Grigson doesn't mean he should just continue to stick around when we're not making it to the playoffs. At some point, you have to do something, right? Texans have a new group of guys, right? New coaches, new GM that come in. They get CJ Stroud, move up in the draft to take Will Anderson with the very next pick. And then this offseason, being aggressive in free agency, making a trade already. And they're going into the draft with not as many, when you look at their roster, not as many holes to fill as it seems that any other team in the division are. And they just won the AFC South. They are clearly trying to do more than just win the division with the additions that they brought in this season. A bunch of big names, a lot of talent going into the Texans this season. They're looking to actually compete for a championship while Stroud is on his rookie contract. So it's like everything the Texans are doing is what Colts fans wish Chris Ballard and his guys would do. Be more aggressive in free agency, make some trades, try to find a way to get some guys in the building for cheap, right? Guy like Stefon Diggs, again, so talented. One of the best receivers in the game for a long time, just went for a second round pick. And there were more picks in the trade. Now, obviously, the Texans are taking on, I believe it's like $18 million in cap money. But also the Bills are taking on like a $30 million dead cap money. So it's a little bit of trade-off from both teams, but the Texans definitely got the best end of this deal. The Texans have had a great offseason, whereas the Colts have had a boring offseason. And this is kind of what just Chris Ballard does. I was hoping coming into this offseason, we have Anthony Richardson. This is the time Chris Ballard's going to show, like, I'm an actual GM. I'm going to make some moves to really try to take some risk and build around this quarterback. And he just hasn't done it. Chris Ballard is doing what Chris Ballard always does. He's quiet in free agency. He's going to try to build through the draft, but this year we only have 7 draft picks. So the common thought is that he's almost guaranteed to trade back in that first round. What I saw from somebody, I wish I could remember who it was, but I saw something where they were talking about how there's really only 2 or 3 options of guys that could be there still at 15, that the Colts would stay at 15. If those couple of guys aren't there, the Colts are going to be looking to trade back in that first round, pick up some more draft capital, which is a Chris Ballard move through and through. Obviously, you hope that we stay at 15, get one of those premier guys. This is a deep draft, so staying at 15, you can still get one of the best players in the draft. Move back to that 25 range. That's where you start getting into the range of guys that should have good NFL careers, but really aren't so much of a guarantee as guys in those first 15 or 20. So, you know, everything that's happened, like, and I've talked to some people in the comments about this, like, I'm getting closer to a point where it's like, all right, Ballard's gonna have to go. Ballard can't get it done. He's gonna have to go. But also, if you think about last year and think about how we were all talking about the offensive line and how bad the offensive line was going to be. There weren't any pickups, no additions. We were still going to roll into it with the group that we had, and that seemed like it was going to be a problem. Then the Colts come out and this new Shane Steichen system have one of the best offensive lines in football once again. Right, just had to get new coaches, get a new message in there, and these guys were once again performing as one of the best in the entire league. So for everything that we're saying, right? Everything that we've talked about, there is that caveat of by the time we get to the season, you just got to play the games, right? Nothing really matters until you start playing the games and teams know who they are. This team, has a lot of continuity within the players, continuity now within the defensive system for, I believe this is going into the 3rd year. It's going to be their 2nd year with this offensive system. So we could end up getting to September and this team is really good. This team wins games. Kind of like I've talked about before. Anthony Richardson, I believe with Anthony Richardson being a rookie, if he would have played throughout all of last season, I still think the Colts could have won 11 or 12 games with him as a rookie. So very possible that we go into this season in 2024, and that's the case, right? We got to get through the draft, see who we pick up. Do we get any of these veterans that are remaining in free agency? We get anybody on the cheap? Of course, if any of that happens, of course, I'll let you know. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. We're going to continue talking about all this stuff, and of course, any news and updates that's happened, I'll get it to you as soon as I possibly can. But with that said, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.